In this video, I'm going to show you how to place the front lower control arms on this Honda Civic. These do not come with the ball joint because it bolts on, so it's a separate item. If you need these or any other parts for your car, check us out at oneauto.com. Let's get started. Let's remove the wheel. Use a 19mm socket and take off all 5 lug nuts so you can pull the hubcap and the wheel off. Take this off. If you don't have a hubcap and a steel wheel, it'll just be an aluminum rim. And take the wheel off. Now that we have the wheel off, you can see that the sway bar link is mounted on the control arm right here, so we have to remove this. This is a 14mm mounting nut, and you can use a 5mm Allen that you might have to hammer in here to hold the stud from spinning if that's the case. Alright, just like expected, it is spinning. So grab a wrench, put it on here, 14mm, then the 5mm Allen. Tap that in, put a breaker bar or a ratchet on it, and we're going to have to spin the nut off and push the stud through in order to get this off of here. I don't recommend using any power tools at this point because it is very likely to strip out, especially if you are using the Allen in the middle. It's already rusty, it's already weakened, so just do it by hand. Nice even pressure with some rust penetrant should do the trick. If it gets stuck, back it off and thread it back in. Just work those threads back and forth until it lets go all the way. I'm going to take a wire brush, clean up the threads now that they've been worked through a little bit. Pull the sway bar link out. Continuing, the lower ball joint has 3 fasteners, 2 17mm mounting nuts, and 1 17mm headed bolt. Remove all 3. This should allow you to separate the ball joint from the control arm. Just be careful of pinch points here. Be careful not to push the knuckle out too far so that you don't separate your inner CV joint on the axle. But I'm trying to spin this ball joint just so it doesn't hook back onto the control arm. There we go. And just also make sure that it doesn't hit on the boot. If the boot is still good and then it gets damaged, you need a ball joint. The rearward control arm bolt can be removed either through the front or through underneath right here. This is a 14mm. Take that out. The forward bolt you can access from underneath with a 17mm socket. And now you can use a pry bar and pry the control arm straight out. Okay, it's just going to have to go around the sway bar. If you have the other side sway bar link disconnected as well, you'll be able to pull this down. And there's your control arm. Now let's bring the new control arm in. I like to start with the front bushing, the hockey puck bushing, because it'll be easier to slide in if it's not at an angle. So pull out on the knuckle, line up the mounting hole over there, and I actually have the bolt ready so that as soon as it lines up, I can stick it in. Start it just 1 or 2 threads, that'll hold it on. Now you can pivot it to line it up with the rear. There we go. Once you get it in, using a pry bar to push it in place, use a rubber mallet to tap it in. If you use a steel hammer, you risk damaging the control arm. You can see the hole is pretty much lined up here. So I'm going to give it one more tap just like that, and then take the bolt, slide that through, and it lines up perfectly. And I'm going to just start it slowly. I'm not going to tighten it all the way. It is, however, close to being bottomed out, and I don't want to do this because this bushing actually can be put in a bind and wear prematurely if it's not tightened at right height. This front one, however, is safe to tighten now, so let's do that. Finish snugging it. The torque on this is 61 foot-pounds. To get this control arm to right height, what I'm going to very carefully do is push the knuckle back. The control arm will want to go up. I'm going to let it rest up against the CV axle. It is not damaging anything. It's not putting much pressure at all, but it is now parallel to the ground, right about here. The torque on this one is 47 foot-pounds. Finish snugging it up. And once again, 47 foot-pounds. And get that ball joint lined up again. Install the 2 mounting nuts. Snug these up. This one should line up and thread in smoothly. If it doesn't, check it because most likely the holes aren't lined up. Tighten this up. This is a 15 millimeter in size. All 3 of these get torqued to 43 foot-pounds. Doesn't matter where you start. I'm just going to start with this because I already have the socket in my hand. That's tight. Let's get the sway bar link back through the control arm and put the mounting nut back on. 14 millimeter socket. 29 foot-pounds is the torque for this. Let's get the wheel back on. If yours had hubcaps, make sure you line up the little cutout with the valve stem when you install the hubcap. Press that on. Put back all 5 of your lug nuts, snug them up in a cross pattern, and also in a cross pattern, torque them to 79 foot-pounds. Once again, the torque for these is 79 foot-pounds. Double check them. And there you have it. Take it for a road test and don't forget to get an alignment. I hope this video was helpful, and if you have anything to say, leave it in the comment section below. Don't forget to subscribe and ring that bell so you can stay up to date with all of our latest content. Thanks for watching.